Action Comics 1062, Jason Aaron writing with John Timms on art.
I waited all week to read this, and then I went, "You fool!" Look, I love Jason Aaron. He is one of my favorite comic writers. His Star Run, one of my favorite. I never want to see him writing Bizarro again. Because
Oh god.
my main issue with this isn't anything in the story. I mean, it is part of the story. But if all of these characters are turning into Bizarro, shouldn't they be speaking as Bizarro speaks?
Well, here's the weird thing, is that I felt like some panels they were.
And some they weren't, right? There was no consistency. So when Superman is thinking as Bizarro #1, and the voice that he's hearing is speaking like Bizarro, it sticks out on the pages when like the Bizarro Lois is yelling at him and saying he's a danger. In Bizarro, though, being a danger is not being a danger, right? So they should not be hating. They should be talking about how much they love Superman, right? Not how much they hate him.
I think some of these you could argue they are saying the opposite, depending on the panel. But there's definitely some where it feels like definitively they are saying the wrong emotion if they're supposed to be speaking in the opposite. And and Bizarro speak is annoying to read at the best of times. When it's inconsistent, like I feel like it was in this issue, it became even more annoying. And I found this very, very unenjoyable to read. It was, and not to mention again, you know, I complained about this recently, and this ties into what's going on. Part of that Batman story as well is that, you know, everyone in the city's turned into ex-villain kind of thing. I mean, there's a whole thing early in the issue where it's like everyone's doing the opposite of what they're supposed to be doing. So the firefighters are actually just spraying fire onto houses, which, okay, I get the joke. Okay, it works.
Yeah, and I like that because that's very Bizarro, right? That's very silly, very zany. The idea that Aaron's taking Bizarro, making him this dark figure who wants to cause pain, yes, I think you can do that. I just don't think it's executed well here. And it does give Superman something to do, right? It's tiring him out, and he's doing all this other stuff.
Well, hold on, just to clarify here, he actually does get taken over for a little bit at the start of the issue, and then effectively fights it off to try and save everyone. And as the issue goes on, Metropolis is quarantined, so it's just people in Metropolis, and all the heroes are staying outside. He's talking to Batman, he's talking to others. He's like, no one can come in because people might get infected with it, and there's nothing we can do. And Batman points out that Superman's even sort of slowly turning, that he's like fighting it off, but it's not something he can do forever. By the end of the issue, though, there's a time skip, and it seems like the entire world has turned into Bizarros, because it seems like the quarantine's fallen apart, and he's flying around expecting to just see Bizarros everywhere. And this is just like a broader complaint about comic books in general, I guess. But how many times has the entire planet in the DC universe like been turned into something and people just get over it? Remember how they were all turned into like fish monsters in like that Aquaman plot back at early Rebirth, Throne of Atlantis? Everyone get turned into fish monsters. like how many? Like,
they were just turned into starfish beasts in Beast World.
That's true. Like, this happens too often. Okay. Too often. It's just too much.
Yeah. That said, I do like that you get a flashback of Bizarro coming to Earth and everybody like essentially bullying him. You know, talking about how stupid he is and how dumb of a concept. So I do like that because I have a soft spot for Bizarro when he's used properly. And so for that being his inciting incident on wanting to do something bad, that the people of Earth were so mean to him, that he wanted them to feel like him. I like that thread, and that's the Jason Aaron stuff that I like. Again, it's just the execution to get there. It's a lot.
I just didn't find it enjoyable to read for the most part. Like I didn't like listening or reading all the Bizarro speak. Dealing with a lot of that stuff. As much as the joke that everyone's doing the opposite of what they're supposed to, I appreciated. You know, it was kind of a one note thing. Like after a couple pages, like I get it. Like you know, everyone's doing the opposite. There's a whole extended sequence where Superman's about to snap, and then it looks like he heat visions a bunch of people and like causes chaos, and then obviously he sort of snaps out of it. It's actually very reminiscent of a scene in The Boys where Homelander imagines just heat visioning an entire crowd of people because he's angry.
Yes.
But because that's the boys, for a second you're like, is he actually doing it or is this a dream sequence? Because this is the boys. He might just be murdering people.
Well, yeah, and my question on that was, well, how is he going to talk himself out of this one? Because it's Homelander. He'll find a way. You know?
Because he wants to be loved and he thinks that he won't be loved anymore. So it's all an ego thing. It's all about being a narcissist.
But yeah, back to Superman and stuff though. But yeah, him doing this having a good. I thought that was effective storytelling because I was like, no, there's out of anyone that's gonna make Superman kill, it's not gonna be Bizarro, you know. But I did get worried for a hot second, you know.
Here's the thing. I read this just after Batman. Mm-hmm. So the ending of this, which I don't think I would have ever liked the ending to this anyway.
Yeah.
But having read it right after I read Batman, which is just actively doing a Joker story that I don't like. So Superman flies out the city, he mentions the quarantine spell, and it's implied that the entire world, and he specifically flies to Gotham, right? That's where he goes. Mm-hmm. And he's like, there's one person who might be able to like help me. And I'm like, oh, who's this going to be? This is interesting. Like, who's he going to go see? He goes to Gotham. And he's like, oh, given the state of the world, there's only one man alive who's probably right for this job. And of course, it's the Joker. And I get that the idea here is that because everyone's flipped to the opposite, the Joker has flipped to being like the most sensible, smartest person in the world or something. Like, I get the logic of that, kind of, but part of me did groan because I just kind of felt like, oh... that we're doing Joker stuff.
I was hoping we were going to be getting Bat-Zaro, which is the Bizarro version of Batman. You know.
But why would he be helpful though, if he's Bizarro?
I don't know. But I didn't want to see the Joker because I began my week with Joker and I ended my week with Joker. You know.
Conceptually, I don't hate it. Right, I understand what the idea is here is that because everyone's flipped to the opposite, the Joker's suddenly become the most helpful person that you could possibly find. But at the same time, I just read a really bad Joker story, and I'm not really enjoying this story all that much. Yeah. So this kind of felt a little bit like, oh, really? This is what we're doing. Yeah. Plus, you know, when I think of Joker in Superman stories, the first thing that my mind goes to is Emperor Joker, and I hated that story. So there's a lot of baggage. There's a lot of baggage for Joker being the reveal at the end of this issue.
I will say I do like the design of Bizarro Joker. You know, it's not too over the top. He looks kind of normal. So I appreciate that. But yeah, no, I wish I liked this more. John Tim's art's pretty good throughout, though. I like his breakdowns. The breakdowns are pretty good. I mean, again, that scene where he visions and we think that he's turned. That's all handled really well. The tiredness on Superman's face, you know, it comes through. So it's all there. I wish I enjoyed this more just because of the creative team. I'm a fan of theirs. And it's just not. And then we get Williamson after this, and then it just really makes me miss the Warworld stuff. You know, we were cooking at that point. So here we are.
Yeah, no, I do think the book's a little repetitious because it feels like it's going over the same ground a lot. Mm-hmm. You know, it's got that extra page count because it's got the pages that the backup would have effectively, and I don't think it needed to be that long. My biggest complaint, though, I mean, it is repetitious, is just that we're doing that everyone in Metropolis turns into Bizarro, but it just multiplied when it's like, oh no, the entire world's done it now. The entire world's turned into, it's like a virus that spread all over the world. I'm like, we just did a good version of this in Beast World, right?
Yep.
I like Beast World a lot, but we do this so often in comics that it loses all meaning, right? It's
when they're bringing characters back from the dead. Death means nothing anymore.
Yes. Everyone turning into something means nothing. The people in the DC Universe's version of Earth have been through more as a civilization than any civilization that's ever lived. Okay? Yeah. They have been through so many things and just went back to life like it's normal. It's absurd.
Yeah.
And that's just part of comics, I guess. But I just feel like I wish more writers would just understand that we don't have to actually make everything be the entire world or the entire city even are affected by something. It can just be, you know, you can make a small scope story that has really big stakes. It doesn't always have to be the entire world.
Right. It could have just been Metropolis, and it won't leave because Bizarro has this weird, like, he only sees the world as Metropolis, right?
Yeah.
You know? And I can deal with Metropolis falling into Bizarro. I mean, that's a Superman story, right? That's just part of the equation. But yeah, the whole world's a bit much. And just, I did like, though, that they tried to get Fate, but Fate had fallen to the Bizarro and was just causing all sorts of chaos, because a Bizarro version of Dr. Fate would be about chaos, not order. So, so I did like that. And like Zatanna was having issues because don't forget that the origin of this spell came from that planet of sorcerers, so of course Zatanna's having a hard time breaking through all of this stuff. So there's plot points in here I'm enjoying. I just wish I enjoyed the rest of it. And that's the difference between Batman and this is I can see the intent where it's supposed to be going. I'm just not enjoying the ride,
Yeah,
versus I'm not enjoying the ride or whatever over in the other book.
I mean, I'm not really enjoying the destination in this either that much, to be honest, but I don't hate this as much as the current Batman arc. Like, the current Batman arc I despise. This, I'm just completely like... I
feel this ends with Superman hugging Bizarro and telling him it's okay because of how sad and upset that it made him. And it's going to be a learning lesson for Bizarro, because at the end of the day, Bizarro's not all bad. He intends to do good.
But how many times have we had that ending to a Bizarro story?
True, but how many times have we had Aaron do it? I feel like the emotion's going to be there because I feel like Bizarro's going to be sorry once he comes out of this stupor.
No, Jason Aaron having not done it before. Like, your argument there is completely invalidated by the fact that these two issues have not been good. It wouldn't matter that it's Jason Aaron writing it because he's already proven that he's not making a compelling case for it.
But I'm working myself up that when it doesn't happen, I'm going to be real mad. So,
I can't get on board with that thinking at all.
And that's fine, because I dug myself a hole and I was trying to climb back out of it.
I think this is weak sauce. I think it's a weak concept. I think it's... Because at least while he's doing wild things with Batman and Batman Off-World, it feels pretty new for Batman to be in that situation. Whereas everything he's doing here with Bizarro and Superman, I kind of feel like, this is just kind of some old shit. He's just reheating some old ideas, Yeah. So, hey. Plus, at the end of this, it says, Bizarro Joker, most sane man in the face of new, and then it says Earth backwards. It's Hitre. Hitre. Yeah, whatever you would say it. Yeah. That annoyed me too, because, you know what? Bizarro speak is annoying. I like, my patience for it. Like, from the day I started reading comic books, the first time I read a Bizarro story, until now, you can track a line in a graph that's just going down like this. My patience just waning over the years of like, I hate this shit. Stop it.
So I just want to tell people, if you want a good Bizarro story that is very much comedy based, the DCU, which is YOU, it wasn't quite an imprint, but it was like a story initiative to tell these new different stories. It's where we got the Starfire book out of that I love so much. There was a Bizarro 6-issue miniseries that's essentially Bizarro and Jimmy Olsen going across the country and getting into misadventures. And it's not all Bizarro speak, and it's very much, fourth wall breaking, tongue-in-cheek type stuff. And it's by Heath Corson and Gustavo Duarte. So if Bizarro seems like your type of thing and you want a story that you might not have been read that is quite different, that isn't like every single Bizarro story, that one you guys should definitely check out.
I love the idea that there's someone out there who is a big Bizarro fan and has read every Bizarro thing, loves Bizarro speak, and can't get enough of it and thinks it's the best thing in comics. I am not here to belittle you, kind person, whoever you are. I just think it's fascinating that you exist. He
is your Bizarro. He or she is your Bizarro.
Yes. It's just... And I don't hate Bizarro as a concept. No. Like, I've never disliked Bizarro in general. I just... but anyway... I think it's another really middling issue overall because I just can't quite get on board with everything that it's doing. Art is solid, like you said. There's lots of good images in here. It's very consistent throughout. All right, what are you giving Action Comics?
I'm at 6.5.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a 5.5. for me. So yeah, definitely, I definitely don't hate it like I do the Batman stuff right now. But I'm not liking it either. It's in that middling kind of territory.